started. I had to get the cardio done because we got a little later start. If I otherwise, I would never got into bed in time. So I got my
That's
cardio out of the way. I just didn't eat, so if I start to break out in the sweat and I get a little incoherent, you know, my blood sugar's dropping.
gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah, no worries.
okay, Chris. Got a couple of things I wanted to talk about. First, first things first. If you're watching this on Muscle Central, make sure you go over to Chris's channel, Buffy the Iron Slayer. Check out his content. If you're watching this on Buffy the Iron Slayer, come over to Muscle Central and check out my content. Chris, one of the things I love talking about. I think it's a great supplement. It stood the test of time. Uh, it works, no doubt about it. But I think that most people are getting real benefits from it. Most, if not most, many. Uh, Creatine.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think about? First off, what do you think about creatine? Do you use it, and or have you used it, and what you get results with it?
It's a fantastic supplement to talk about. Um, so it's obviously a cell volumizer. You retain more water around your muscles, and the idea is to be able to repair and feed the muscles much quicker and more efficiently. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, my thing with it is that most people just aren't using it properly to get uh, maximum effects.
Interesting. So
Typically,
I've
all right, go
oh,
ahead.
go
What
ahead.
were you going to say? Just I want to hear what you were saying first.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I've used it definitely, for the last 15, 20 years, really. Yeah, 20 years. Um, and I've, to be honest, like I always took it because you hear it's great to take, it's good for this, good for that. And then I stopped taking it for a while. I didn't notice anything. And then I started taking it again. I didn't notice anything, and I would take between 5 to 10 grams 5 days a week on a workout day. I always drink like a gallon of water, but for whatever reasons, I never noticed anything from it. And not a weight gain, not a strength gain, no reps, with the
Uh,
same more. And I heard that there's just some people who either don't need it
yeah,
because it's, yeah, I mean, I assume I
a
must get enough.
non-responder. But yeah, I
No.
there are some people. Uh, but let's say let's put the non-responder aside. Typically, you're
Hmm.
told to take the creatine 5 grams, 5 times a day, 5 to 7 days, and you load. Right? That's the typical protocol, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then from there, you back down to 5, maybe 10 grams. Most people they suggest 5 grams, and that's your maintenance. Now you can now see more of you. That's your maintenance dose. That's the
Hmm.
first problem. Yes, you need to load the muscles. You want to get the maximal results. And usually, people that they respond to creatine, they see the most that quick burst. The first few weeks, you're going to see noticeable improvements all around, and you'll feel the pump, the muscles fuller. But then after that, it tends to wane. The problem is now you get the muscles loaded with the creatine. Once you go
Hmm.
back to what they call a maintenance dose, in a matter of a few weeks, 2 weeks, maybe three, you're back down to baseline levels. So the muscles are the maintenance dose is very inaccurate. It doesn't maintain saturation of creatine in the muscles. What you need to be people should be doing is you should be taking 5 grams, five four minimum 5 times a day constantly. Don't go from the loading phase. There's no loading phase. That's the dosage. You know what I'm saying?
So
It's not like a
you
loading
said
phase.
take.
That's the dosage. You need to
Hmm,
be taking 5 grams about 4 to 5 times a day consistently. That's the
hmm,
first problem with creatine. People
hmm.
just not. Bill Phillips. Bill Phillips is the one who brought it to the market under the name phosphagen, right? It was labeled
That's
phosphagen. Bill
okay.
Phillips. Bill Phillips. Forget about what was on the label. Bill Phillips himself said he suggested 20 grams a day consistently. So
Hmm,
that already throws out the window this loading phase, then maintenance phase. It's just one dosage. That's what 20 to 25 grams, 4 to 5 times a day, consistently. That's the first mistake people are making.
okay. So was I making that mistake? You're saying I wasn't doing enough?
No, it's all. You know what? It's like anything. It's like anything. There are people that really won't respond to gear.
Hmm,
Probably not gonna find many, but there will be non-responders to gear, or
hmm.
they'll respond extremely poorly.
Yeah. Okay.
They're just people that are plain and simple non-responder. Treatments that let's get away from the bodybuilding and that and everything, and go into the medical stuff. There are treatments that work for everybody, or just about everybody with a certain problem. But then you have this select few that, for whatever reason, those treatments don't work, right? You see that in the medical field. And it's the same thing with this. You can try it, but you also might be one of those non-responders.
Hmm,
And if you are, I think people that don't respond, whether it's medical treatment or they respond poorly to the gear, just like the hyper responders to the gear.
yeah.
But they respond poorly or the supplements, where most people respond much differently. There's probably a reason. There's probably a way to find out why you're a non-responder or a bad responder.
Yeah.
I don't. It's hard to say. The only way to know is if you give it a run, and see how it goes.
Little
But
trial
now
and error.
that's the first problem.
Mm,
Also, it was initially suggested that they told you in cold grape juice or your favorite beverage, but they put grape juice on the top because the sugar content. That's why. That's the next problem. The cold. People complain about. Some people complain about the stomach distress when they take creatine. Right? You've heard
yeah.
that complaint before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Problem is, creatine needs to dissolve. It needs to dissolve to be uh, effective. What happens is creatine doesn't dissolve very well in cold fluid.
Mm,
So
okay.
typically, if you're doing it like that, you're that creatine is sitting in the gut, and that can actually cause the distress. What they never told you in in the original testing, when they were doing all these trials and all this testing for creatine when they bring it on the market,
Yeah.
the test subjects, they were taking creatine with tea, warm to hot tea,
Uh huh.
hot fluids. What I started doing is I drink the sugar free. It's not the what Crystal Light. It's the store brand version of it. But I drink the sugar free drinks. I put it in the microwave. I get it nice and warm. Get the creatine in it. The
Oh,
creatine
in-
was going into the warm drinks. What you'll notice, you see, the creatine dissolves much better, more efficiently in the warm fluids. So you're getting, it's not sitting in the gut. That's another mistake that people are making with it.
Yeah, it just reminded me like you drink cold water, your body's got to warm it up before it can like absorb it. So if you drink room temperature water, it's much easier. Like
But
I don't like cold water as it is. I prefer room temperature water.
I mean, you think a hot day, a hard workout, something you sweating up, something cold. But the truth of the matter is, warm drinks quench the thirst better than cold drinks.
Mm.
A
Yeah,
warm drink will quench the thirst better than the cold drink. Cold drink
yeah,
will
I've
leave
been
you thirsty.
yeah, I like to drink tea at night right now because I'm doing my contest diet, and once you've eaten all your food for the night, that's it. And if you're like up a little later, you're hungry,
Yeah,
you know.
I drink coffee all day long at work, and even in the summertime. I don't drink iced coffee like my coffee black, but I put a little ice in it just so it's not uh, steaming hot in hot weather. But I
Mhm.
prefer to drink it at least warm or at least room temperature. So
Mhm.
that's the problem now. You're mixing with these cold fluids and not dissolving properly, and it's causing other issues.
Mm. Okay, I never thought of that. Never. I'm being educated here.
Yeah. And another thing, they have all these. Then I mentioned that with the instructions, they told you uh, a grape juice or your whatever favorite cold beverage. They specified grape juice first because of the sugar thing. After he came out with the initial phosphagen, the next one in line was it was a phosphagen HP. Do you remember what the phosphagen? Excuse me. And phosphagen HP was?
No,
Well, HP was high performance, but do you remember what the product was? I
no,
don't know.
I never.
It was Celtech followed up with it. Muscle Tech
Okay,
with Celtech. It was the creatine and high glycemic carbs, the sugary carbs, because
okay.
you got the insulin spike, and then the insulin spike rushes the creatine into the muscles much faster. Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
That
I,
sounds
I missed your question. That's the reason why they do, because you have that insulin spike, and the insulin uh, pushes nutrients into the muscles. It'll push the
right.
creatine. So that's the theory behind it. And it
Okay.
actually works. It actually works. But there's a problem with, there were a couple of products. I think, I'm trying to remember which company put it out. I think Botago, but it was also very expensive. The problem is when you take those concoctions, your insulin spikes pretty quick, but you're getting
Mhm.
the sugars in, so your insulin spikes pretty quick. But at some point, but when your insulin starts to drop, that's the creatine is not in your blood system yet.
Mm.
So when the insulin spike is not helping, excuse me, helping drive the creatine into your muscles, this is not in your bloodstream yet. It takes about 20 minutes to a half an hour afterwards for it to get to the bloodstream.
Mm.
Now,
Okay.
with that's another thing that they mislead you with. They didn't tell you with. I used to do a lot of reading up on this in the studies with the test subjects with the creatine and carbs. What they were doing was they were giving the creatine to the test subjects first, and then they were consuming the carbs 20 minutes to a half an hour later, and then they
Wait,
were
like,
getting. And so what's happening is you're getting that insulin spike. The creatine is not even in your bloodstream yet, so it's not being pushed into the muscles. and you're consuming all those sugary carbs for no reason.
Yeah.
And I also think, does it really matter? Let's say, to, let, well, the reason why they don't tell you that is because it, they have to. It's much harder to sell you a product. They tell you it's in two separate containers that come together, and you got to take this at this time, and make sure you take this at this. It's much easier when you take it all together. So they're really misleading. It does work, the creatine and carbs, but not the way you're consuming it. But what I think in the long run, does it really matter if I get the creatine into my muscles immediately, right away after the workout, or I get the creatine there 20 minutes, a half? Is the timing also all that important, or is it more important just that the creatine gets there? So I don't even think there's a need for all these different methods, these different concoctions they've come out with.
Hmm.
What you should be doing is taking plain creatine monohydrate, which is, if you don't get any of these concoctions, is not expensive. It's cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
4 to 5
Yeah.
times a day, consistently, in a warm drink. I use the sugar free lemonade or fruit punch or whatever. As I like those flavors, whatever suits you. You can do it in coffee and tea, like they did it in the studies in tea. And don't worry about spiking your insulin, so the creatine gets driven in the muscles much quicker. It's just important that it gets there. I feel the same thing with the timing of protein. I mean, you don't want to wait too long after a workout to start getting the protein in the body, but it's not absolutely imperative that you get it in, start getting it in immediately.
Yeah. I don't. I'm not in a rush after my workouts. I mean, sometimes it's 10 or 15 minutes before I do.
Even even a drink. Uh, is what happens is, okay, I think I covered the creatine pretty well, but it got me into another one of the things I like to talk about: post workout drink that everybody, and I'm guilty of it also, because I used to make my drink the night before, freeze it, take it out at a certain point, and then carry it to the gym with me. So it's not frozen, but it's still cold. So I had to suck it down right after the workout. Problem is, uh, nutrients, like we were talking about the creatine, nutrients are carried into through your body. How? Through your bloodstream, right? Through your blood, with your blood, right? That's what
Sure. Yeah.
carries the nutrients.
Hmm.
When you're working out, uh, and you're pumping the muscles up, blood is you get that pump because muscle is pushed into the body parts that you're working, right?
Hmm.
Your body's not producing more blood, is it? Your body
Right.
producing more pump? I'm asking you
No.
a
Yeah.
question. It's not producing more blood to give you the pump.
No.
So the blood is coming. Blood is already there in the body. What is happening is it's diverting some blood from areas that it's not needed at as much of the time. And one of those areas is your digestive system.
Yep.
So now, if you're what I said about the creatine, with people getting stomach distress, I know a lot of people that get distress in the stomach distress right after they take their drink, their protein drink. A few minutes later, 10 minutes later, they start feeling discomfort.
Hmm.
Why? What's happening is the blood is diverted from that area of the body, and it takes time for the blood flow to go back to normal, and so you can't. Your body is not in a state where it can start digestion, and the liquid. It's not even. I would probably think you're probably better off with food. I'm just theorizing because the liquid is already broken. It's already broken down. Part of it is is that like part of the digestion being done? It's broken down already. It's in liquid form.
Well, yeah, that's the whole
So I
idea.
think I don't even think that you need to have. So the time, like I was saying, the timing with the food and the protein right after workout, I don't think it's as to have it as immediately after workout. It's as critical as people think.
No, I agree with that. And yeah, I think the fact that if you're using your post workout whey isolate shake, um, um, you're going to absorb it a little faster and better than if you had a whole bunch of food sitting in there while you're waiting for the blood to come back. That's what I would think. And then
Well,
I like to do I like to do the post workout. I've been doing the gummy bears like Jeff told me. So for that insulin spike, and then one of the things I do, I do poor man's creatine. Before my workouts. You know what that is?
well, say the poor man's creatine.
Yeah, you know what that is.
This is something new to me.
1.5 grams of pink Himalayan sea salt with 12 ounces of water.
Okay.
You ever do that?
No, and you find you get better pumps.
Oh, incredibly, dude. Incredibly. I that's so when I kind of like I've tried creatine over the years, like I said, and I've tried some fancy like high absorption type kind and whatever, and I've never considered the hot cold thing, but I've never had cold drinks as it was. But
Okay.
I like hearing that or learning about that as far as absorbing it better. But what
It
if
might make a difference. You can give it a shot to see how it goes.
I will, because Jeff wants me to take creatine for this contest prep, and yeah, I've never been a fan of it because I've never noticed anything, but I'll give it a shot again and see. Um,
Jump, jumping back to the creatine, I was reading about some studies that went on in Japan.
mhm.
Can't remember all the details, but they were suggesting even up to 40 grams a day, and you, you get increased benefits. But they also said that they tried going past 40, and they was what it was. They were kept increasing the dosages, and they were making these observations. But it seemed like they found that 40 grams a day beyond that there wasn't no difference. So they like topped out over there. But that study was even suggesting up to 40 grams. But without a doubt, at least 20 to 25 grams on a daily basis. Otherwise, I think as long as you're not a non-responder, I think most people are missing the boat with it.
I got a
But just
question for you.
yeah,
Um, so I've always heard that you don't want to take more than 10 a day just because you're going to blow your kidneys out.
you know what? If you have issues, I think it's like anything else. I don't take creatine constantly. Also, I actually cycle it. I found not that I thought that I needed for health reasons, but I
Mm,
found that uh, I continually get results when I was using it
sure.
by cycling it, like
Yeah.
any. But it was something else I was just gonna say. I want to get back to the when you mentioned about the sea salt in the water. I can't
Yeah.
remember what it was. I think it might have been Dave Palumbo. I talked about that how we like to go get Chinese food
Yeah.
about an hour and a half or so before a workout. Well, you know why? It's Chinese food.
Hella salt.
He said he got the greatest pumps.
Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of like
Uh,
a
yeah,
pizza.
yeah.
Yeah, if you've never tried it, I would recommend the pink salt though, because you get the high mineral content. And anytime you have a higher mineral content with your salt intake, that means a more efficient water retention and more of a healthy water retention, not like putting pressure on your heart or your blood pressure. It's gonna be in your muscles more likely.
You know, I stopped using for long. When I was young, I used to use salt on everything, and I stopped everything. And I stopped using salt for a long, long time. I didn't avoid salt in foods. I didn't avoid certain foods because they were high in salt. I just stopped adding uh, salt to my things. But I found myself again, and I feel better. I salt most things. I
Me
don't.
too.
I don't drown in. I don't try. I don't look at the labels to try to avoid sodium in my foods, and I do salt my foods a bit. And I think it's. I think. Uh, yeah, salt can be harmful sometimes, but it's not. It could also. It also has benefits. It all depends on the individual.
Well, so it's kind of like your omega fats, like you want a nice balance of 3, 6, and 9 with whatever oils or you're cooking with or ingesting, right? That makes it a better uh, fat, right?
Yeah.
So salt's the same way. Your typical most of your salt that's in processed foods and like frozen foods and any salt that's added by a company, they're using the cheapest crap there is that has like 2 to 3 minerals tops, and
Okay.
that's the kind of salt you do want to avoid. Uh, that's bad salt. And then obviously you got the pink Himalayan salt. That's the kind you want. I mean, I salt every one of my meals. Plus, I take 1.5 grams like right as I'm starting my workout. Slam water. It floods your bloodstream immediately, and you get the sickest pumps.
Just to help
And
the average person out there watching, how would you rate when it rains it pours? Morning salt. I mean, is it on low on the scale? Because typically people, the average person, to go and they're gonna pick up the package of morning salt. When it rains it pours. How would you rate that?
I've accidentally gotten that before, and I got like it was the iodized sea salt, and there was just something off about it. I didn't like it, and it obviously is not pink salt, so it's going to have like maybe 10 to 12, 14 minerals at the most, which I think Morton's on the lower end of everything, so probably 8 minerals. I'm just guessing, but
So, so people know what makes it pink. Why? What makes it pink? The salt pink.
I assume it's the mineral content.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
And I could, I'm kind of a salt connoisseur, because I work at Whole Foods, and they've got all different kinds of salt from all over the world with different mineral contents. And there's so much to kind of know and learn about. It's almost like wine, in a way, but it all tastes different based on the mineral content. And when you have bad salt, you can tell it's just shitty salt. Like I threw away that thing of Morton that I bought, and I was like, I'll never do that again.
So it's safe to assume that because it's called Himalayan sea salt, it comes from the Himalayas.
No, they
Okay, yeah,
have,
it was misleading. All right, now
yeah.
was thinking, well, the Himalayas. I don't think there are many seas around the Himalayas. So where does this Himalayan sea salt? What's it all? Where does it come from? And where does the freaking name come from?
Well, I think that there actual is salt in the Himalayan mountains, like salt rock, because however long ago the oceans were high enough to be there. But
Okay, okay,
but I
okay.
think that I think a lot of the fake pink salt comes from I'm trying to think what I can't quite remember where the fake stuff comes from, but it's just not, it's not your actual pink Himalayan salt. And so the mineral content's not the same, obviously, but it's close. And it's still really good salt. But if you
So
really want,
if it's quote real Himalayan sea salt, it does come from the Himalayas.
you would have to research each company that makes that claim. That's what I would say.
If it truly is real, it does come from the Himalayas.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that's how it works. And it's kind of like you got these companies that say like Italian olive oil or something like that. And then you read on the back, it was produced here, but it has the Italian, they produce it the way Italians
Made
would, or
in
something like that, you know?
China. Made in China. Oh yeah.
So, I
Uh,
mean, all companies are misleading, and well, not all of them, but there's a lot that are. And the FDA doesn't really do much regulation if you really look at what they allow in your food. And there's so many misleading things they can do on the labels. Like they say made with natural ingredients, but then the natural ingredients are still artificial flavors of some sort. Uh,
well, it's kind of like McDonald's. When you have the chicken McNuggets, they
yeah,
tell you made with real white meat chicken.
yeah,
And the truth is, they're not lying to you. There is real white meat chicken in there,
yeah.
but the
Some,
problem is how much and what's the other shit that's in it.
yeah,
So they're not lying to you. When I tell you the chicken McNuggets are made with real white meat chicken, they're not lying to you. They're telling you the truth.
yeah.
But
Part of the
it's
truth.
so you use the Himalayan sea salt on everything like you would use regular salt.
Yeah, man. I use it a lot. I don't really, some days I'll lighten up on it just by, like you said, like it's good to kind of like cycle off things. And I'll lower my salt for a few days, or and just to make sure I'm not overdoing it. And I've never had blood pressure issues, like, ever, so it's never affected me. But I just think it's good every now and then to kind of lighten it up, and then come back to it a little bit more.
All my life, I've only had one high blood pressure reading, and it was under a very, very stressful situation at the moment.
Yeah,
And but in all my life, whenever I get my blood pressure taken, I'm always normal. Uh,
yeah.
Never had issues.
Knock on wood
So
for you.
just- let me ask you: if I use this Himalayan sea salt, I'll
Mhm.
start using it on my. I'm gonna notice the difference right away. I'll taste the difference.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's like seasoning salt, man. It's like when I put it on my food, like I got an idea for you. Take your regular salt, whatever you've got, and then get your pink salt, and then sprinkle the regular stuff on one half of your meal in the bowl, and then sprinkle the pink on the other half, and then you tell me what you think. But
How do I know which? How do I know which one to buy?
um so if there's a Whole Foods near you, that's pretty good bet you're gonna get some real stuff.
I,
Um
I, because I'm virtually positive. I'm sure there's a Whole Foods out here in Jersey, most likely, but I'm absolutely positive there's nothing anywhere near me.
there's if there's any health food store in general, I think Himalayan, that's a brand that we have a lot of different variations of that brand of pink salt, Himalayan salt. We have that at Whole Foods. That's like one of the more legit ones. If you see that one, you can get that. Um, but yeah, that's the kind of the brand. I get Real. I think there's another brand called Real Salt, and then they have pink Himalayan. They have sea salt. They have volcanic salt. They got all different kinds of salt. So I think the brand Real Salt, that one is coming to mind. You know, it's funny. I have it in the other room. I'm not gonna
Excuse
get
me.
it, but
Excuse me.
what's that?
Himalaya and Real.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's called Real Salt is the company name, and then they have variations of different salts and pink salts and
Okay.
volcanic salt and all that. I'm not going to leave the camera right now, but I brought it with me because I'm at my parents' house right now in Oregon, traveling to see them and stuff, and um, I bring my salt with me, for all my meals, and I bring my salt in my gym bag. I got a shaker in there, so that's that important to me that I bring it with me,
You're in Oregon. Is Oregon still full service gas stations?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I'm right. I tell people, yeah, New Jersey still full service. New Jersey and Oregon are the two states left now that are still full service. They try to get rid of full service. Wanted to make it self serve in New Jersey, but
Mm.
it got shot down. So Oregon and New Jersey are still full service. Okay. So I'm not lying to the customers.
No.
Okay. So you carry the sea salt with you everywhere you go.
Yeah, anytime I'm going to work out or all the meals I prep in the morning for the day, if I'm going to work, I pre-salt them obviously, but I put on all my meals. I think it's important because every time like I have a meal and I put the salt in there and I drink some water, I drink water all day, but I can always feel the pump that I get from the salt. And I think just having a constant supply of it throughout the day is great. And you have that little bump before your workout. The other thing to remember is and Dave Palumbo he talked about it. I don't remember the name of the hormone that's produced, but there's a hormone. Obviously, there's a hormone for everything, but it it's produced when you're having a lot of salt intake. This hormone tells your body to excrete the salt. So the more salt you have, the more your body says, "Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it." And it
I
provided that you're,
say something like that. I think I remember hearing it also. Yeah.
yeah, that's provided that you're drinking a lot of water throughout the day too, and doing exercise because you lose salt that way too. Uh, you, you're not gonna ever have a problem. But if you cut salt completely out of your diet, like doctors treat symptoms. That's what they do. So if blood pressure is high, they say no salt, and that might temporarily fix the problem. But then your body's going to get to a point where it's like, hey, I'm not getting any salt. I need to hold on to all I can get. So you'll find yourself back. You'll find yourself back at square one pretty much on even less salt in your diet, where you're still gonna
Salt
have a
is vital
problem.
for bodily functions. Are you a
Oh,
Star
it's
Trek
so
fan? Are you an original Star Trek fan?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Remember the episode, uh, a creature was disguising himself as McCoy's ex-love. Uh, it fed on salt.
Hmm.
Well, actually,
Okay.
when they first encountered it, they visited a planet, and there was a scientist there doing his research and all. And what appeared to be his wife was actually this creature. The creature would take on forms of different, the look of different people. Would transform itself to look like you, me, or whoever. So,
Okay.
but it would feed on salt, and it would it would lure the person with its chameleon-like disguise, and then
Uh-huh.
it would. But the thing is that it would change into the creature and suck the sodium out. It fed on salt and suck the salt out of the body. We need salt for to live. We need it to live. We need it
Oh,
for to function
yeah.
properly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's all the electrolytes that are essential, your heart function, and then when you get to your pink salt with 70 plus minerals, I think there's like 100 and something minerals to be absorbed out there. But like, you know, around eight, if you're getting around 80 to 90 of them, that's like really essential for all your bodily functions and to avoid diseases. Because like they have your trace mineral supplements, which I have one too. It's in a liquid form, and since I have so much salt in my diet, I take it maybe once a week. Because mineral supplements not something you want to abuse or go crazy on. Because what happens is if you overdo your mineral intake, you get like dark spots on your skin, and it's like a sign of
Basically toxic.
yeah, it can be, yeah.
Uh,
So um but it's so important for health. It's like your micronutrients right there. It's an easy way to get a lot of healthy minerals in your body is just through that salt right there, and it's cheap. uh it's it's
Let me see if I can phrase it, if I can put it right. Okay, you say Himalayan sea salt has higher mineral content than other salts, but the other salts have mineral contents in them anyway. But uh, let me see if I can word this right. The does the Himalayan sea salt are you able to process and absorb the nutrients better when it's Himalayan sea salt as opposed to processing and absorbing the nutrients when it's another type of salt? Am I am I asking the question right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Again, it all comes down to the mineral content of that particular salt. You got like, let's talk about black volcanic salt. Um, that's going to have a different mineral content, obviously, because it's just altogether different. But who knows what actual minerals
Well,
are in there and what levels they're at. But all I can tell you is
not
that it's going to.
not the particular. What I'm trying to ask is, you could take a certain type of compound, and you take a compound in one form as opposed to taking a compound in a different form, and your body will absorb it and process it differently. Made a drug for a treatment, or even some whatever. The body might absorb the same compound, but in a different form, better or worse than than another form. Is there something besides the actual content of minerals? Is there something about Himalayan sea salt where your body processes it better and easier and more efficiently than if you were processing the nutrients in another salt?
Yeah,
You
like
understand?
well, yeah. The only thing that determines that is the mineral content of it.
Okay. So
So
you understand what I'm trying to ask you, right?
I think I do. Yeah,
Okay.
it's the reason why pink Himalayan is the most sought after is because it usually has the highest mineral content out there.
Okay.
That
Let me ask this way. Uh, Give me a mineral that's present in my Morton's table salt, and the same mineral that's present in Himalayan sea salt. Give me one mineral.
boy, you know what? I don't even know what they leave left in Morton salt. I don't even know which one it would be.
Let's say we'll call it mineral X. All right, call it mineral.
Okay.
Let's mineral X that's in Morton's when it rains, it pours salt. Uh, does that mineral X absorb as efficiently the one that's in Morton salt, and the same mineral that's also in Himalayan salt? Does the Himalayan salt, the mineral X in Himalayan salt, absorb more efficiently than the mineral X in uh, Morton salt? Now, you get what I'm trying to ask you? Is there
Yeah, I
something
mean
about
that's
it that allows you to whatever nutrients are in there to make the body absorb it more efficiently?
yeah. I mean I've been been understanding the question the same way the whole way. And again, the answer is if there's more minerals present, they're going to work better all together in the absorption. Because if you only have a few of them, if you only have a few present, it's not going to absorb very well.
Okay, you're talking about it. Okay, I think we're getting some leeway over here. You're talking about the synergistic effect.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, I got you. Now I understand. It's that same mineral is absorbing better because it's being taken. There are other minerals that are assisting the absorption. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, now I understand. Okay, now I understand what you're saying. So
And again, that's
you understood what I was saying, but I wasn't quite grasping your answer.
yeah,
That's
I know.
that's my old age picking in. I now I understand what you're saying. Now I understand. Okay, makes sense. It makes
So yeah,
sense.
that's yeah,
So
and then so
I educated
that's
you about creatine, and you educated me about salt. I'm
yeah,
gonna give
man.
sea salt a go and see what happens with it.
You'll love it. Josh Connor does the same thing. He's been doing that for years. Me and have talked about it before. So, and occasionally someone in the gym will see me pouring salt into a Ziploc bag, and then I'm dumping it down my mouth and washing it down with my water. And occasionally someone will be like, "What are you doing? What is that?" I'm like, "Oh, it's salt." They're like, "Really? That's what you're doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, give it a try." Everyone I've ever told to try salt, they say, "Holy shit, man, it's a pump." I mean,
Well,
it's why I've never needed creatine, anyways, because I never noticed anything from creatine, but then salt, fuck, dude, yeah, it's a night and day difference how it's going to affect your workout. You're going to get
even
more rep.
even during the loading phase, you didn't notice any immediate strength increases or uh, burst of strength.
No,
Yeah, it could be a non-responder. But like I said, I think with anything, when you have the majority of people that respond to a certain thing, whether it's a drug to treat an illness or whatnot, and
hmm,
when you get the majority of people that do respond to some degree, of course, those people respond a little different. Some respond better, but most people respond, and and some people don't. I do think that there's a specific reason why, and it might not be a bad idea to try to find out what's the reason why you don't respond the way other people respond.
yeah, I the only thing I ever remember reading about that, because I was curious why. And the only thing that the only answer I could draw from anywhere was that it was already enough in my diet somehow. So
Well,
eat
that's
a
what
lot of
happens
meat.
when they take the diuretics uh, for a show, and they pull the freaking minerals out, the electrolytes out, and you're pulling the salt out of the body, and they flatten out. That's the reason why they're flattening out, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then Dave was able to pinpoint like what minerals specifically that you're dangerously low on, and then when people get in a situation, they tend to add the wrong thing to make it worse. And I don't remember the logistics of that, but it's a rabbit hole to go down if you start messing with your electrolytes and diuretics, and when you get into a situation figuring out what exactly it is you need to save your life. There's doctors who've told uh, heart patients, people with problems like blood pressure, say cut your electro or your salt out of your diet because your blood pressure and your heart's having trouble. And then before you know it, they're so low on electrolytes that their heart starts not pumping correctly, and they're in a situation. I mean, that's what happens when your electrolytes are off. Your heart can't function correctly, and same with your muscles. your muscles aren't gonna fire off the way they should.
Right. Dale, we've always had something to say about Ramy and our show, daily Big Ramy go. Did you hear about? Well, you know that he used to be with Enhanced Nutrition. You know who Tony Hughes is, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Enhanced Nutrition, and they were married, and now they're divorced. But there's a little back and forth, a little discrepancy from one side to the next on what actually transpired. According to Tony Hughes, uh, Ramy was too busy with his stuff in the Middle East, and he wasn't able to, I guess, fulfill his end of the contract. But then Dennis James, who was hooked up with Ramy, came out and made a point that, well, they didn't get paid for a number of months, and Ramy was supposed to get I think it was $100,000 bonus when he won the Olympia for the second time in 21. Still
Hmm.
never received his bonus, so that's why they stopped providing for them. So you got Tony Hughes saying that it wasn't providing. Dennis saying that they weren't getting paid is why they weren't providing. Now Tony Hughes' response to that, he never directly addressed the issue about not paying. He did reiterate about Ramy is big in the Middle East and he has all these things going on and he doesn't have time for the American audience. And then he got into blowing smoke up his own ass by saying that right now he has things going on that are even more important than bodybuilding anyway. That on the verge of scientific breakthroughs of muscle building, where guys are putting on 20 pounds of muscle in 1 week. You heard about his crazy experiments, right? That he's doing right now,
No.
and but he never once addressed the actual accusation that they never got that he was never that Ramy and Dennis weren't getting paid and Ramy didn't get the bonus. Now Tony Hughes, he comes off like a lawyer, which he happens to be. He's he's an attorney by profession. He kind of reminds me. Remember Breaking Bad? You better call Saul. Remember the lawyer in that Saul? There's something about Tony Hughes that reminds me of Saul. So, although I don't think Ramy is the most, he's not out there as much as he should be. I kind of think that it was more that Enhanced Labs wasn't paying. If you're not
Mm.
paying, why are you gonna? You're not gonna produce for them.
Right. That's business 101.
Did you hear anything about that?
I think I saw your video about it, and I've been traveling the last 3 days, so I haven't had time to sit down and watch it. So, but I
Just quick
understand.
before we wrap it up, I mentioned about what Tony Hughes said about he's on the verge you're on the verge of his scientific bodybuilding breakthrough by putting 20 pounds of muscle on the body in 1 week. Did you he was on the RX Muscle with a couple of guys
Oh,
doing this and they were talking about it.
yeah, yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah,
What do you
it's
think
not.
about what do you think about Tony Hughes and his 20 pounds of muscle?
No, come on. I think I seem to remember when he brought it up, and he mentioned the protocol of how much these guys are gonna be sticking themselves. I think it was with insulin and all these different kinds of tests and GH and all this bullshit. It just sounds like you're just gonna stick yourself with a whole bunch of drugs. You're gonna work out hard. You're gonna eat hard. You're gonna gain 20 pounds of water. if you do. And it's not going to be a healthy 20 pounds. It's not going to be a solid 20 pounds of muscle. Get out of here, man. That's some dumb shit.
Realistically, we were talking about non-responders and hyper-responders. Kevin Levrone was, without a doubt, a hyper-responder. You see where he goes off completely. Before he starts prepping for a show, he looks like just Joe Average.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like Kevin Levrone, who's a hyper-responder, how much muscle could someone like him actually put on in a week? He would be an exception, but he's a hyper responder. How much realistically would he be able? Someone like him, do you think would be able to put on in a week?
I mean, everyone's different, right? You wouldn't know until they did it.
I guess a hyper responder, like, would you say it'd be okay to say 2 to 3 pounds of solid muscle in a week, or more, a little less? What would you
I mean, I'm
guess?
sure.
I mean,
I would think.
I'm trying to use that as a comparison because they're talking about 20 pounds of muscle in 1 week, and I'm taking someone like Kevin Levrone, who we know is a hyper responder. How much would he be able to put on a week, and compare that to to their claims? This is just to blow their claims out of the water.
I was lightweight doing math in my head, so I seem to remember Kevin Levrone would start getting ready 3 or 4 months out, or was it 6 months out?
I think it was a matter of 3 months. I think
Yeah.
Dave Palumbo said that when he was helping him prep for one of the shows and went out to visit him, uh, he was like, "This guy's not going to be ready." And I forget how it was
Right. I
only,
remember that.
yeah, this guy's not going to be ready. Then when he saw him again, he was like, "What the fuck?" So I mean, it'd be realistic. Even let's say he can put on 5 pounds of muscle. He's a hyper responder, genetic freak. 5 pounds of muscle. We're talking about an exception to the rule, a rare individual. So
Mm-hmm.
for them to make these claims that they're on a version of scientific breakthrough in bodybuilding, where you're going to be able to put on 20 pounds, and he did emphasize real muscle in a week. I mean, that's absolutely crazy.
I don't even think that's possible. I don't think your organs and your body can do that. I don't think you convert that much food and protein into actual muscle. It just doesn't sound feasible on a scientific level. I would think that with his protocol that I heard about, more than half of that's going to be water. Whatever number they gain on the scale, it's not going to be solid muscle. How's he even going to know? It, and plus, what I was thinking about earlier with Kevin Levrone, why it's so hard to gauge his progress is because he would lose fat and gain muscle at the same time, and
Yeah.
he would go up on the scale as he lost fat. So I mean, yeah, 5 pounds a week for Kevin, maybe that or more. It's really hard to say because 3 months he would probably gain what, like 40 pounds back into shape, and probably 20 of that was,
Freak, an exception to the rule.
yeah. And so he would also lose what, 20 to 30 pounds of fat that he gained too. We were talking about 60 pounds difference maybe of actual muscle and fat being gained and lost. It's so hard to gauge Kevin Levrone because of that. I think if someone had a scientific computer stuff hooked up to them, like Ben Pakulski would do, maybe you could track that more accurately. But is Tony Huge even using any equipment? How's he gauging this?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? What do you think it is? I'm gonna try to wrap this up. I haven't eaten after my cardio. I am getting lightheaded. What do you think, Huge?
What do I think of him?
Yeah, he's a character to say the least. I'm telling you, to me, he's right out of Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. He reminds me, he reminds me so much of that character.
That's pretty
I
accurate. I,
don't
I like
trust
I like
him.
that. I think he's got a funny character. overall. He's kind of like just seems like he's just like motivated and positive and just really he's down to try things. And I don't know how to describe him really, but he I don't know if he knows as much as he claims he does. Maybe he does, but I think he's a little extreme with his drug protocols and what he does. I think he's pretty extreme.
I think is what he's what I think is what we would call a shyster. You ever hear that expression?
Like someone who kind of scams you.
Yeah, he comes off as a shyster to me. That shows you that gives away my age. That word. I say that to the really young kids. They look at me like I'm fucking. What the fuck is that word? Yeah, there's something about him that just. I'm a street person. I grew up in a
Like what?
project. I grew up in a project in Brooklyn. There's just some. I get a sense about things. There's just something about him that doesn't. I wouldn't. I don't trust him. I don't
Right.
trust.
I know kind of what you're talking about. I kind of get that feeling from him too. I don't know him, but like when I just see anything about him, I'm like, man, I wouldn't trust that guy if I bought, a supplement from him and he's saying it that's what it is. Like
I
I would
mean,
question.
he's not lawyer. He's a lawyer that knows that you committed intentional murder, and uh, he's fighting like hell. He's saying everything possible to convince the jury that you're innocent of the crime, and he knows it. There's something about him I don't trust. What he says uh, I don't believe. That's why I said when, even though we know Ramy was never big with content, there was some that would get out here or there. He was never big with content. I tend to believe more that they weren't getting paid. Simply for the fact that Tony never once, in his response to when Dennis James came out with those accusations, never once did he even mention anything about the not. Well, oh, we paid him. Yeah, we didn't stiff him for his Olympia bonus. We were paying him. They were getting a regular check from us. He never once addressed it. That tells me that there's something to it, and he doesn't want you to know.
Probably he wouldn't be the first person in history who sells supplements to do something non-ethical business wise.
Talking about the supplement, and we'll round it up. Just the last episode of After Hours, they were talking about the supplement industry. Did you
Yeah,
happen to catch it?
I did not, but I know the general conversation of it or the topic. There's who's someone's in jail right now for doing something to his product,
Oh,
right? That they always talk
yeah,
about.
Aaron Singerman and PJ
Yeah,
Brown. They were what the fuck? Uh, it was black. It was they were together in Blackstone Labs, and
yeah,
they
yeah,
knowingly. Well, the truth of the matter was, a lot of these substances that are now became illegal over the last few years were always steroids. But they were just never when they were originally developed. They were never classified as steroids. They discovered these companies. They discovered these substances, and they took advantage of the fact that they were actually steroids that were never classified as steroids, and they brought them to market. But eventually, everybody caught on. Yeah, it was Aaron Sigmund and the PJ Braun that are in jail now. Chris,
yeah.
you think we're gonna have a bigger cast next week?
I hope so, man. Everyone gets busy and whatever happens, but that's
I
that's the
was
way it could be.
I was really curious about Jeff's thoughts on my creatine topic.
Yeah, I'm
I
sure
was
he
really
would love
curious
to.
to hear what he thought.
I'm sure that would have been he would have had some great input, and he might have been blown away by the warm water technique too. I don't know, but I know he likes creatine and he believes in it, and that's why he wants me to take it. So I'm gonna be trying it again, but I'll try it with your method.
Yes, try
Um,
it. It happens. If you had, and I think if nothing else, if you had any type of stomach distress, you're gonna notice the difference when you stir it up.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
it should. It's not gonna completely dissolve. Uh, I remember a while back uh, it was suggested try with Alka Seltzer, but I'm not going to take Alka Seltzer 5 times a day. They said it was what they said. What happens is uh, the Alka Seltzer breaks away the monohydrate molecule from the rest of it, which allows the better dissolving. I don't know, but you give it a try. What I mentioned to you. This is stuff I all dug up years ago when I first got into. I tried everything back then. I tried everything that came out. So I know what worked and what didn't work. And before I tried it, I did as much research on it before I tried it, and that's what I found out. See what works for you.
right. Yep. Endless pursuit of bodybuilding.
All right. I just want to remind everybody once again. You're watching this on Muscle Central. You got to get over to Chris's channel, Buffy the Iron Slayer. Check out all his content. Make sure you subscribe there. If you're watching it on Buffy the Iron Slayer, come over here and subscribe to Muscle Central. Check out my content and subscribe to my channel. And Chris, you want to say anything before we close out?
Yeah. For those of you who are watching today, go out there and get yourself some pink Himalayan sea salt and take 1.5 grams. I mean, right as you're on the gym floor and you've done maybe a set or two, get your blood pumping. Take the sea salt and slam down, about 10 ounces of water right away. Work out and leave some comments in the video and let us know what you think of that.
All
That's
right,
the poor man's Creatine.
you heard it from the Himalayan sea salt expert, Chris Miller. Any brand you suggest people to use?
Yeah, real salt and Himalaya. Those are the two that come to my mind.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, Chris, it's been fun. I got to get something in my stomach. I'm I am so fucking lightheaded right now. All right,
Yeah, keep
everybody. I
going.
hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we'll be getting back to you soon. Hopefully, next time we're gonna have bigger cast with us. We're gonna try to get both Jeff Snyder and Josh Connor on together and see where it goes from there. All right, Chris, it's been great.
Definitely, Michael. It's good to see you, man.
Take care, everybody.
All right. Later, guys.